Why was Uraume crying in this scene, and what exactly is the dynamic here? Well, we're going to talk about that and some other questions from you guys, but spoilers beware. All right, so this first question comes to us from Damri, and they want to know if Uraume's actual body is a man, then who was that in the last chapter, and why were they crying? Well, that was indeed Uraume. It did look like what we saw the incarnated version to be, which we know to be a female. However, we know that incarnated sorcerers can transform their own bodies. So that was probably just most likely what Uraume actually looked like back in the Heian era, and we were just seeing a more childlike version of them. So that was still Uraume. Now, as to why they were crying, obviously I don't have confirmation of this, but contextually based on that scene, as it represented two different paths that Sukuna could have chosen if he hadn't have just been selfish and didn't care about anyone but himself, I think that path represents caring about Uraume, and that woman, you know, similarly, we talked about it in another video, but I think either was his mother or a potential love interest. So Uraume crying, I think, is probably representative of when Sukuna first met them, and maybe they were an abandoned child just like Sukuna was. And so he's saying that, like, instead of having just basically treated them like a servant and a thing, what if he had actually taken them under his wing and actually cared for them like a parent or a guardian or a mentor would? So I think that was just Uraume either being, you know, crying representative of their emotional state back when Sukuna and Uraume would have first met, or representative of the emotion in being accepted and acknowledged by Sukuna in that moment. I think both make sense and, you know, really could go either way. Next up, we've got some kind words and quick thoughts from Gabby on the ending, who says, I think the story is very good, but the ending was rushed. They would have liked to have seen more of Gojo, and he thinks Gege should definitely answer more questions because there was a lot left unanswered. And yeah, we are getting another fan book, but, you know, I wouldn't expect too many crazy things to get answered in that. Probably just more kind of fleshing out and world building, and not necessarily like hard-pointed questions about certain things, but maybe we could eventually get that kind of stuff in an interview or something one day, but, you know, we'll see. And also, shout out from Iceland, that's incredible. I mentioned this in another video the other day, but I love Iceland. Next up, Sishui says, when's One Piece starting and where am I in One Piece? So yes, I have been reading through the One Piece manga to get caught up. I am currently in Thriller Bark. I'll be making an arc review as I finish. I did that for all the previous arcs too, but I had to take them down because one of them got copyright flagged. So I'll probably re-get those up after I get the chance to redo them at some point. But now that JJK is over, it'll hopefully be starting soon, maybe in the next couple weeks. Next up, we got a couple questions from the plop here, starting with one talking about Hollow Purple, wondering how that works because sometimes it deletes stuff and sometimes it doesn't. I've actually put out a video on that very thing before, so I'm going to link it to your response here, and I'll probably put it in the YouTube comments for anybody that wants to check it out as well. But it is not just existence erasure or existence deletion, so that's why Sukuna was able to rebuke it with his own cursed energy defense. And then the second one is, while on the subject, did Yuta just miss or did Sukuna tank it again? And I don't think Yuta missed because he did like successfully destroy the domains. So I think he hit, he just wasn't as like effective or skillful with it as compared to Gojo. So that's probably why Sukuna was able to just tank it for the most part. Next up, we got some questions from OG Black, and he says, hypothetically, let's say that all 4 disaster curses got fused together by cursed spirit manipulation, and they had all of their abilities and could grow in strength with time and training. Where would Geto rank in my top 10 if he had control of that fusion disaster curse and also Rika? Full body Rika, so I'm assuming that means like OG Rika. And one thing I'll say really quick is that we know when a curse gets absorbed by cursed spirit manipulation, it can no longer grow. So we'll still just assume hypothetically that it could in this scenario, but just wanted to throw that out there so nobody got confused. And so Geto would be number 3. Top 3, but number 3. I don't think even with Rika and the Disaster Curse fusion, he could still do anything to Gojo or Sukuna, but definitely 3rd place. Next, where would Kenjaku rank if he had the fusion disaster curse, but not Rika? And I'd put him at 3. Maybe, yeah, I think I'd put him pretty squarely at 3. Maybe there's an argument that he'd be 4 or 5, but I'd go 3. Again, just behind Gojo and Sukuna still. That's not going to be enough for him to get past them. And then for your final question, where my top 10 would that fusion rank itself, and how far does it go in the Sukuna Gauntlet? And honestly, I don't think that fusion makes top 10 for me, because I think I could think of 10 people who I think would be able to beat it. This is in no particular order, but Gojo, Sukuna, Kashimo, Kenjaku, Yuta, Yuji, Uraume, Maki, Toji, Yuki. So that's 10 right there, and I think there's probably a few others on the fringe, like Yorozu or you know, Toto potentially. Anyway, point is, I don't think that fusion would make top 10 in the verse. And then how far does it go in the Sukuna Gauntlet? Bar Gojo, I'm assuming you mean like Sukuna after he fought Gojo. How long would the Shinjuku squad take to take down this fusion beast? And like I just mentioned, a lot of people I think are stronger than the fusion beast, so I don't think it goes anywhere. Next up, we got this from I'm Gaming, who says, all right, fellas, feel free to steal this curse technique for the competition. And this is a good chance to plug. The Third Culling Games are currently accepting submissions right now over in the Discord for the custom curse technique tournament that's about to begin, wherein you create a curse technique and you battle against others with similar curse techniques. So y'all pause to check this out, but it's actually not even all of it. This was actually really long and in-depth. So shout out Gaming. I think this is a really cool idea. And you should, I'm assuming you're not in the Discord since you posted this here, but you should join the Discord and post the full thing there so that a lot more people can see it. And next up, we got this from Pfeiffer, which is in the exact same vein. They sent me some kind words and also their curse technique that they're submitting to the applications. And so y'all can pause to check this out, but it's also not all of it. So head on over to the Discord if you haven't already, and that's where you can submit your curse technique, and you can also check out everyone else's. But this one was also really cool. Next, we got this from Aang, who asks, out of the big three villains of JJK, which is my favorite, Mahito, Kenjaku, or Sukuna? And I would say this largely depends on kind of like what aspect or element we're talking about, but if you made me pick like a general favorite, then I gotta go with Sukuna. He is just built different as the King of Curses. I love the way Gege portrayed the pinnacle of strength in this story, both with Gojo and Sukuna. Like, he truly was the king, right? It literally took everyone and their mom to take that beast down. And yeah, I just love that he had that aura throughout the entire series. But in terms of like his actual ability and like the level of hate that I felt towards an enemy, that's Mahito for sure. I felt like he was an excellent early manga foil to Yuji, and his ability was just so cool. Next up, we got this from Tiberius, YouTube member extraordinaire, who says, Usami looks like a sick-ass Harry Potter villain for one movie, and that could not be more accurate, but he's still my GOAT. Next up, we got this from Daniel, who is also a YouTube member, so shout out to you, King. But he wants to know, what was Gojo talking about when he said that Sukuna's fingers kept getting stronger and stronger with like the more time that passed by? Does that mean that if Sukuna had incarnated a million years later, he would have been unfathomably strong? And personally, no, I don't interpret it that way. What I think Gojo meant was like the strength of the cursed object themselves, and not representative of Sukuna's strength within them, if that makes sense. Meaning that, you know, they were special grade cursed objects that were lethal to humans, right? I think that type of potency in its like negative energy and kind of bad juju that surrounds it, if you will, I think that's what increases the more that time goes on. Next up, we got this from Sat, who says, please don't spam 50 plus videos to cover each chapter. Just 1 or 2 for the arcs is enough. And this is in reference to Kagurabachi, which I'm going to cover on the channel soon. So I was planning on making a chapter by chapter video like I did with JJK, but let me know if y'all would prefer just arc videos instead. Next up, we got this from Nipsey, and y'all can pause to read the whole thing, but he's just saying he's going to be really excited for the One Piece content, especially when I get caught up. And man, me too. Even as far as I am, I have so many thoughts on the world building and potential theories, so I cannot wait until I'm all the way caught up and I can just dive fully in like a madman. And finally, for this video, got this from Isaac, which doesn't include a comment. Y'all can pause to read it, but just has some very kind words. And Isaac, man, thank you so much. Like, truly, from the bottom of my heart, I have been in that same position as well. And really having a community to get like excited and look forward to around something like you all love together is truly just the best. It's something that's helped me in my dark times. So I am truly, truly honored and humbled to be a part of a community that is that for other people. So thank you so much. That's all for this one, y'all. Thank you guys so much for the support. And don't forget that Dan premieres tomorrow. And we're going to have 2 different watch parties in the Discord for it to try to accommodate time zones for everybody. So be sure to join us for that. And thank you so much for watching.